Okay guys, I am going to make a short little video today on the metric units. This is the ladder or the staircase that you're used to seeing. We went over it just a week ago, so I'm going to go ahead and remind you what this is going to look like when you draw it on your piece of paper. So you need to have a piece of paper out right now. And I would go ahead on the piece of paper and write down the phrase, King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. So remember this phrase, the first letter of each word tells you the letter that goes on your ladder that you're going to draw, or your staircase. So as you say the phrase, that tells you how many steps that you need. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. And so remember that U stands for your unit. So we can use this for any of the 3 units that they use for the metric system, which would be liters, meters, or grams. Okay, so anytime that you have that M at the bottom, remember that that's your smallest unit. That's your mil, like millimeter, milliliter, milligram. So if you have the metric system written out and they have a letter by itself, like a G, an M, or an L, that tells you that that's your base unit, your liters, your meters, or your grams. And so the ending of each of these steps can be changed out by the unit that you're using. So kilometer, kiloliter, kilogram, millimeter, milligram, milliliter. Okay, so just a little review before I give you the assignment for you to answer the questions on. If I were to have, let's do 14 grams, and we want to change it to milligram. Okay, remember you have your little friend down at the end of the ladder, and they're holding onto that ladder for you so that way it's nice and steady so it doesn't fall over. So when you go up that ladder, you're going away from your friend, and your answer is going to be getting smaller because you're going off in the distance. Okay, so when you go up the ladder, I'm going to draw a little arrow going up. It means that you're going to move your decimal to the left. Okay, so when I go up the ladder, I move my decimal the same direction to the left. When I go down the ladder, I'm going to move my decimal to the right. Okay, but if I have a number that I'm starting off with, that's a whole number. I want to remind you, 14, because it is a whole number, we can start off by putting a decimal at the end of it, because remember, $14 is the same as $14.00. Okay, so if I'm going from gram, which is going to be my base unit, here's my gram, it's right there at my unit, and I'm going to go down to milligram, that means I'm going down to the bottom of my ladder, milligram. So that means I'm going to go down the ladder 1, 2, 3 times. Okay, that means I'm going to move this decimal to the right 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to add 3 zeros to the end of my number. So now that my decimal is moved to the very end, my answer is becoming 14,000. Okay, and just like in that video that you watched, it's just like saying times 1,000, because each of these steps you're adding a 10 that you're multiplying by if you're going down. So this is like multiplying by 10, multiplying by 100, multiplying by 1,000, each step that you go down. Okay, so that's going down the ladder. You move your decimal that many times. Now let's look at if we were to have a question that is going from the bottom of the ladder up. Okay, so let's say we have 130 and 2/10, and let's go from millimeter. And let's say now we're going to go to our meter. Okay, so now we're using this ladder for not our grams, but for the meter. So we can change this out for whatever unit that we're using, liters, meters, or grams. So this time we're starting at a smaller unit, and we're going to go up to our meter, our unit. Okay, so millimeter, and we're going to go to meter. That means we're going to go up the ladder. We are using a lot more millimeters than we are going to with meters. A smaller unit needs more of them. That's why the answer gets bigger. And when we go down the ladder, we're getting closer to our friend, so our answer gets bigger. When we go up the ladder, our answer gets smaller because it's a bigger unit and it takes less of them. And we're also getting away from our friend when we go up the ladder, so that's why our answer gets smaller, and we move our decimal to the left when we go up. When we go down, we move our decimal to the right, just like we just did. Okay, so we're going from millimeter to meter. So we're going up the ladder 1, 2, 3 times. And so that means we're going to move our decimal the same direction. If we go up the ladder, we move our decimal to the left. So I'm going to move this decimal that I have in my answer. It says 130 and 2/10. We're going to move this decimal to the left 3 times because that's how many times we went up the ladder. 1, 2, 3. So our answer becomes a decimal 1302. But as we discussed in class, we have to make sure that we put those 0 placeholders in front of our decimal. Because on your state exam, they're not just going to have a decimal and then a number. They're going to have a 0 placeholder there. So your answer becomes a 0 and 1,302 10,000ths. So that's what your answer becomes. Okay, so don't forget to draw out your ladder. Make sure that you write all this information that I've got, and then use this ladder to answer your questions on your assignment. Bye, guys.